In this video, I'm going to be going over what is voice in a story. There are three types of voices in a story. You have the author's voice, the character's voice, and the narrator's voice. Voice is all about the specific vocabulary, sentence structure, tone, and point of view to convey your story. And we'll dive deeper into this definition into each of the three voices. So we're going to begin with the author's voice, right? So remember, the author is pretty much the writer of it. So the very first line I have here is, these details show the writer's style, right? So the writer's style, it'll show the thoughts of the author's writer, the feelings, and right here, the attitude of the author. So let me go a little more in depth with this. This is mostly going over how the author feels about a certain subject. So you can say that maybe somebody really likes Batman and really despises Joker. So when the guy is writing a story about Batman and Joker, he's going to really tend to put a lot of emphasis on how great Batman is and how despised, how disgusting Joker is. And that's not just because of the way the story's flowing, it's because the author is choosing those specific words and the tone they're writing about for each of the characters. This is Creative Writing Lessons. This is where I give you tips and tricks to writing a successful story, especially for beginners. If you're loving this content, don't forget to like and subscribe this video so I can keep pumping out these amazing videos. Alright, let's continue the video. The character's voice is pretty much the character in your story, and you can go over this with all your characters in the story, right? Whether they're villains, heroes, secondary characters, right? Not the primary ones. So this is pretty much giving you detail for the exposition, the character's backstory. This also shows the way the character right here is their dispositions and personalities. This will give you a sneak peek into the way the character is, the way they speak, right? They can talk with short words, short sentences, right? Maybe if they're not that intelligent, they speak really like very lower vocabulary. They don't really have big words to use, right? Or you can have someone who's highly intelligent and speaks very eloquent when talking to everybody and using very high vocabulary. It just shows who the character is, and that's their voice. It shows who that character is through the narrator talking, the author talking, and the way they actually speak through dialogue. Narrator's voice is the person telling the story's point of view, their voice, okay? And that goes based off of the point of view, whether you do first person point of view, second person point of view, third person point of view, limited or objective, right? There's different point of views, and I do have a video about different point of views, and it describes and I go over all of those if you want to check those out too on my channel. But for this, it's pretty much talking about the narrator. The person telling the story uses also their own words, their own vocabulary, their own sentence structure and tone when talking about a story, right? So if you have something in first person, that's the narrator's actually in the story, so they may have a biased view towards whatever's going on. Then there's a second person point of view, which is you are part of the story, so the narrator is pretty much telling you what you did and what you said throughout the story. So it could be kind of like not, it's pretty much your thoughts, feelings, and how you are. So this kind of describes who the character is, trying to say that this is how you are, and that's your voice. And then you have third person, limited or objective. My example I'm going to go into right now is going to talk about like third person objective. That's where like the third person, the narrator for third person, standing back. They're not part of the story, right? But what they're going to do is they're going to talk about each of the characters, and this is how you get more in depth about the characters' thoughts, how they feel, and then what they say, right? Because a lot of characters will think one way, feel a different way, but speak completely different, right? They'll say, oh no, I would never hurt you, you're the love of my life, and then turn around and just betray them ultimately, you know, whether it was intentional or not. But sometimes what somebody thinks and what they do is completely opposite, right? And so that's how you know the more about the character, but their voice. So the voice pretty much explains who these people are, revealing the disposition as the vocabulary said. So the voice is once more is all about using specific vocabulary, the tone, and again point of view, as I was just going over, and the sentence structure, like I was saying, whether they're long, full termed or not, and it helps convey the meaning of the story that goes towards the themes or your moral of the story. And this kind of helps project what the person wants to show through the story. What is the meaning of the story, right? So I'm going to go over an example right now, and it might be a little bit harder for people to swallow because it's such a touchy subject, but I think it makes one of the best ways to explain voice. Hello there. So I have 2 kids books out of my 4 kids book series, self-published on Amazon. If you want to check them out, the link will be in the description below. And if you have Kindle Unlimited, you get these books for free. So one of the best examples I've been using when I talk about it is abortion, because abortion is one of those touchy subjects. So if we're going to look at the voice of the character of the voice of the narrator, or let's start with the author. The author, right? If we start with the author is the person writing the story. So there's already going to be a little bias in there because the author is going to already have their point. They're thinking on it, right? So they're going to be like, no, I do not believe in abortion. So when you read the story, everything is going to lead towards the ending of the person will not have the abortion, right? Because that's just the way they think, right? That's their beliefs. So when you're looking at what they're doing, you have to realize that everything you're reading, you're going to see all the clues that will lead to the end, which shows the author's point of view, right? The meaning of this story is do not go through an abortion because it's could hurt the baby or kill the baby, but it will hurt the woman, right? The mother could be hurt forever, not be able to have children anymore, or it could be a religion type of thing, right? So that's how you look at one way. Look at the character's point of view. So in most stories, you always want to have some kind of objective. So you're going to have one character that believes in it, one doesn't. And as the battle between the two go, they're going to flip-flop. But the meaning of what they want to convey is do not go through with it, and that will start showing through both the character's voice. And then lastly, the narrator depends on, again, on what the author writes. The narrator will pretty much have a biased point of view due to the narrators. It could not also, right? The person could ultimately believe, like, do not have abortions, right? Or do have an abortion, and at the end of it, they don't have it because that's just who the character is going forward and what the character wants. The narrator is supposed to show what the character wants. Whether the character has another character, they flip-flop, right? One character might convince him not to do it or to do it. You know, you don't really know, but you can listen to it in the narrator's voice. You can listen to it by the vocabulary, the sentence structure, the tone of what's going on in that scene, and the point of view of what's trying to be established. Will having the abortion end up killing the mom? Yes. Oh, well, now the person's like, okay, well, I do believe in it, but if it's going to take a life of somebody who's already like breathing and alive, then there maybe the ending will be like, no, like, you know, we can't go through with it. So voice is very powerful in trying to get your point across to the reader, to get them to see your point of view as an author, as a writer, and then by using some of the elements of writing, storytelling, themes, point of view, and characters to show it by using voice. I know I went over a whole bunch of information in this video. The key points I want to point out, there are 3 types of voices. You have the author, the character, and the narrator. Each of them will have their own voice, their own morals, their own meaning of what they're trying to prove to the reader or to other characters, if it's the character's point of view, or again, if it's a narrator first person, they have theirs, or second person. So you got to look at it as if there's a point you want to get across to the reader, try to show your point of view, what you're thinking, how you believe in something. You know, voice is what's going to be the storytelling element to portray that meaning. All right, that's pretty much what voice is there for, is you can hear their style, the way they speak, and all this other stuff, so you can convey your meaning that way through the story. Okay, so if you guys want to learn more, I know I was talking earlier about having a perfect story by using characters, so I'll have a character development up here in the corner. Above me is that subscribe button, so if you did like this video, please like and subscribe so I can keep making this great content to make a perfect story. But remember, there's not always a perfect story. And I'll go into a tip later about that, okay? That'll be on my short coming up this week. But for now, Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on my next video. May the force be with you always.